Niro's transformation from legendary actor to full-blown political warrior outside Trump's trial was something no one saw coming. Standing there with the Biden campaign, his face showed the same intensity he brought to Raging Bull. But this time, all the punches were verbal. He didn't just read some prepared statement, he unleashed years of built-up frustration against Trump, called his spokesperson a parrot, and then got into a shouting match with protesters. This was the moment De Niro officially crossed the line.
He's so stupid.
From occasional critic to Trump's most formidable celebrity enemy. So how did the guy known for saying almost nothing in interviews transform into a human bullhorn against Trump? Robert De Niro's journey from the strong, silent type to political loudmouth is like watching a volcano that was dormant for 50 years suddenly decide to erupt.
He is a malignant narcissist. He's a socio-psychopath. He's created some new language as far as describing somebody in his mental condition.
Back in the day, getting De Niro to speak more than 10 words in an interview was like pulling teeth from a grizzly bear. This is the same guy who would give one-word answers to talk show hosts and stare at interviewers like they'd just asked to borrow his kidney. When David Letterman tried to chat with him in the 90s, De Niro basically responded with a series of grunts and shrugs that made the audience wonder if his microphone was broken.
Right now we're on CBS. We used to be on NBC. I live in your neighborhood, literally your neighborhood. We're neighbors, and this is your first time. And what have I done?
Oh, God, I don't know. Well, whatever.
His early career was built on letting his characters do the talking. Whether it was Travis Bickle pointing a gun at his mirror in Taxi Driver, or young Vito Corleone communicating volumes with just a glance in The Godfather Part 2, De Niro was the anti-Kardashian, famous for actually doing something while saying very little about it. Then, 2016 happened. Something about seeing Donald Trump descend that golden escalator flipped a switch in Bobby D's brain. It's like the universe played a cruel joke. Hey, you know that super quiet actor? Let's make him physically unable to shut up about politics. Suddenly, the guy who had to be begged to promote his own movies was volunteering to appear anywhere with a microphone to talk about Trump. The metamorphosis was gradual at first, a comment here, a criticism there, but then came the 2018 Tony Awards when De Niro walked on stage, grabbed the mic, and simply declared, "Fuck Trump." No preamble, no explanation, just those two words that got bleeped out faster than a contestant on a dating show. The audience erupted in applause while network censors probably needed defibrillators. It was like watching your quiet grandfather suddenly start using TikTok slang at Thanksgiving dinner. Since his Tony Awards moment, De Niro has been escalating his rhetoric faster than gas prices. He's compared Trump to every movie villain, except perhaps the shark from Jaws, though I'd argue the shark has more integrity. He's called Trump a wannabe dictator, a fake president, and even said he'd like to punch him in the face. Fighting words from a guy who once played Jake LaMotta. What's fascinating is how De Niro's filter has disintegrated over time. In 2016, he was making somewhat measured criticisms about Trump's character. By 2023, he was comparing him to Hitler and Mussolini on national television. It's like watching someone who's been politely putting up with a bad smell for years finally snap and scream, "What died in here?" The irony isn't lost on anyone that Darrow, who made a career playing mobsters and criminals, is now railing against what he sees as genuine corruption. He spent decades studying characters who abuse power, from Al Capone and the Untouchables to casino boss Sam Rothstein. Maybe all that research gave him a sixth sense for spotting real-life power-hungry figures. When De Niro calls Trump a gangster, he's speaking with the authority of a guy who's played more gangsters than most people have had hot dinners. His role in Wag the Dog seems particularly prophetic now. He played a spin doctor who fabricates a war to distract from a presidential scandal. 20 years later, he's watching what he considers real-life political theater unfold, and he's refusing to be just another audience member. It's like a firefighter who spent decades acting in plays about arson, finally seeing a real building on fire and grabbing the nearest hose. What drives a notoriously private man to transform into a political megaphone? It's not like De Niro needs the publicity. The guy has 2 Oscars and enough money to build a fortress of solitude if he wanted to, but instead, at an age when most men are arguing about thermostats and yelling at neighborhood kids, he's out there on courthouse steps getting into shouting matches with Trump supporters. The answer seems to be genuine conviction. De Niro truly believes democracy itself is at stake. This isn't some publicity stunt or attempt to stay relevant. It's a mission from a guy who spent his life studying characters who stand up against threats to their way of life. That New York street kid mentality wasn't just talk. It exploded into reality outside a Manhattan courthouse when De Niro came face to face with Trump supporters. The Biden campaign thought they were just booking another celebrity endorsement. Boy, were they wrong. They wanted some star power to grab headlines at Trump's hush money trial. But what they got was a human powder keg ready to blow. Campaign staffers probably expected the usual celebrity speech, some vague comments about values and unity before a quick exit into a waiting SUV with tinted windows. Instead, they watched wide-eyed as De Niro transformed the carefully planned media event into something straight out of one of his mob movies. De Niro didn't bother with the political niceties that most celebs hide behind. When he turned his attention to Trump's spokesperson, Karoline Leavitt, he didn't hold back, calling her a Gen Z parrot with the volume turned up and the logic turned off. This wasn't your typical, "I respectfully disagree with my opponent's celebrity" statement. This was De Niro channeling his inner Jake LaMotta, throwing verbal punches with no gloves on. For an 80-year-old Oscar winner to come out swinging with that kind of precision was like watching an old boxer suddenly remember all his best moves. The situation went from spicy to nuclear when pro-Trump protesters started heckling him from the sidewalk. Imagine having the guts to attack Robert De Niro's acting career to his face. That's like telling Gordon Ramsay his cooking stinks, or telling LeBron he doesn't know basketball. These protesters were calling him a wannabe, a paid sellout, and a little punk. Clearly, none of them had seen Goodfellas, or they might have thought twice. That's when something remarkable happened. De Niro's famous intensity, the same glare that's made audiences squirm for 5 decades, came out in real time. His face transformed, his posture shifted, and suddenly we were watching Travis Bickle on the streets of New York again. He called the protesters gangsters, a loaded term coming from the guy who's portrayed more iconic movie gangsters than anyone alive. When he pointed his finger and declared, "We are going to fight back," you could practically see the Biden campaign people behind him frantically checking their crisis management playbook. The video spread faster than rumors at a high school prom. People who'd never seen De Niro this fired up outside a movie set couldn't look away. Usually, when celebrities get political, they sound like they're reading from a script their publicist handed them 5 minutes earlier. Not Niro. This was raw, unfiltered emotion that made his Tony Awards Trump moment look tame by comparison. When one protester got too personal with his insults, De Niro responded with a simple, "fuck you," that carried more authenticity than 1,000 carefully worded celebrity statements. Trump's team tried their usual playbook, dismissing him as just another elitist, out-of-touch Hollywood actor who doesn't understand regular folks' problems. But that attack bounced off De Niro like bullets off Superman. This is a guy from New York's Hell's Kitchen who still carries that working-class attitude in every word he speaks. The billionaire's team calling De Niro elitist is like a guy in a gold tower calling someone in a walk-up apartment fancy. Karoline Leavitt, the spokesperson De Niro had verbally body-slammed, fired back that Trump was backed by hardworking men and women of this country. But her words only highlighted the contrast. De Niro wasn't speaking from a mansion in Beverly Hills. He was standing on a Manhattan sidewalk getting heckled and not backing down. For many viewers, that showed more connection to everyday Americans than any campaign talking point could. The Biden campaign quickly capitalized on the moment, releasing a new ad featuring De Niro set to air across battleground states. For all of De Niro's fiery condemnations of Trump, which have continued relentlessly for years after other celebrity statements faded into obscurity, we're left with a nagging question. Is his famous intensity changing minds or simply entertaining those who already agree with him? When most Hollywood types wade into politics, their statements vanish faster than free food at a film set. Not Niro. His criticism has stuck around like gum on a theater floor, partly because he's not just any actor. He's Robert freaking Niro, American icon. His opinions stay relevant in public conversation while other celebs get the shut up and act treatment after a single political tweet. The reaction to De Niro's Trump bashing splits cleaner than a well-directed scene cut. Half the country sees a grumpy old man yelling at clouds, while the other half cheers on a truth teller using his platform responsibly. It's fascinating how the exact same speech gets interpreted completely differently depending on which political team you're rooting for. What makes De Niro different from other celebrity activists is how personal he makes it. He doesn't talk about Trump with rehearsed lines about American values or our democracy, like he's reading off publicist cards. Instead, he speaks like a disappointed New Yorker who's known Trump for decades. While other famous folks make vague statements about unity that sound nice but say nothing, De Niro delivers specifics that hit harder than his punches in Raging Bull. He doesn't just say Trump is bad for America, he warns that Trump will never leave office if given another chance. That kind of bluntness stands out in an entertainment world where most political statements feel focus grouped to death. Scroll through replies to any De Niro political statement and you'll see America's division in real time. Pro-Trump commenters dismiss him as just another Hollywood elite, ironic given Trump's own reality TV background, while Trump critics share his clips with this and fire emojis. What gives De Niro credibility that other celebrity voices lack is his consistency. He didn't just hop on the anti-Trump bandwagon when it became trendy, he's been hammering the same message for years, even when faced with backlash. That sustained criticism makes him one of the few celebrity voices that both sides take seriously, even if they violently disagree with him. His approach is pure New York street direct, unfiltered, and with zero tolerance for BS. When he speaks about Trump, he's not reading carefully crafted statements that sound like they've been through 17 approval layers. He's pissed off and willing to say so, using language that regular people use when they're angry. For all his impact, though, De Niro probably isn't changing many minds. What he's doing instead is validating the emotions of people who already oppose Trump. When someone with De Niro's stature expresses the same anger you feel, it makes you feel less crazy for having those thoughts. The quiet method